Nice to see all your shining faces. This is an Eagles song called Peaceful Feeling.
I like the way your sparkling earrings play against your skin so brown. I wanna sleep with you in the desert tonight, with a billion stars all around. 'Cause I've got a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down, 'cause I'm already standing on the ground. I found out a long time ago what a woman can do to your soul. I know she can take you anyway. Don't already know how to go. I've got a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down, 'cause I'm already standing on the ground. I get this feeling I may know you as a lover and a friend. This voice keeps whispering in my other ear, tells me I may never see you again. I've got a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down. I'm already standing. I'm already standing. I'm already standing on the ground. Whoa,
Great, great, great. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all of you out there that are on screens. You could be here picking it up live. There's a rapport that goes on here that's healing, really healing. Okay, it still works through the screen, but it's not quite as intense. Anyway, we welcome all of you wherever you are, tuning in however you're tuning in. I want to let you know that Unity of Boulder is an all-inclusive spiritual center. And we're all inclusive because we believe that life is diversity. And diversity is beautiful and good. And so that's why we in Unity, we propagate the whole concept of diversity. We can't imagine not having the wonderful differences that we share as human beings on this incredibly diverse planet. So we welcome all of you and like you to show up. Come on in physically. We have the most purified sanctuary in the world. We use EG lights to take care of whatever microbes might be around. We still do the mask and the social distancing, but it's beautiful and you're gonna love it. So anyway, enjoy this particular session of Unity of Boulder.
This song is by, it's going to be kind of funny, Guns N' Roses, but it's one of their mellow songs that are acoustic, and it is called Patience, and it's something that we all need to have a little bit these days.
Where's one?
Shed a tear 'cause I'm missing you. Still alright to smile. Gotta think about you every day now. Was a time when I wasn't sure, but you set my mind at ease. There is no doubt you're in my heart now. Said, brother, take it slow and we'll work itself out fine. All we need is just a little patience. Said, brother, take it slow, things will be just fine. All we need is just a little patience. Take it slow and things will be just fine. You and I'll just use a little patience. Sad sister, take the time, 'cause the lights are shining bright. You and I've got what it takes to make it. We won't fail.
good. You guys have sound like you've been singing together forever. Wonderful, wonderful way to start. All right, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome. Nice to see you all here, actually. We have a nice little crowd here, and welcome everyone that's joining us on live stream. As many of you know, if you were here last Sunday, I was out of town, and Mike and I took a really needed vacation to Mexico, just the two of us, and left the children here and the dogs and all that wonderful stuff. And you know, you think in your mind, this is just going to be an easy thing. You just leave everything and you get to have a break and get perspective on life, and it's just, you know, an easy thing. And that was not exactly my experience with that vacation. And I'm going to talk about a little bit how COVID has psychologically affected us. It's really an amazing thing, and you don't really notice it until you leave the comforts of how we've been working our life in a pattern almost for over a year. And so I named this talk "To Be Free or Not to Be," and obviously it's about consciousness, you know, and how much have we signed up with the world and all of the news and all of the distrust and upsetting things that are happening in this world. And I just realized that we all need to play more, and we don't know how we're able to do that in the midst of all that's going on. You know, to be able to be free, we think maybe we can go to some distant place, which I was even thinking that in my mind. I can go to a distant place and I can leave it all behind for a week, and then I can come back to all of it, and I'll be refreshed and ready to come back to it all. And yet, like they say, wherever you go, there you are. So there I was. Joseph Campbell says, "I don't believe people are searching for the meaning of life as much as they are looking for the experience of being alive." The experience of being alive. And I know we've all been experiencing what it's been like to be alive during this transitional time of not knowing, you know, how long we're gonna, you know, have to play into what's happening with this illness that's surrounding us, that's migrating, and it's, you know, variants and all of it. I think that's a great song that all we need is just a little patience. We keep thinking we're seeing the horizon, and then it's like, oh, we have to have patience. We have to have patience. So I came across this story. I watched a documentary when I was leaving, and it's called Finding Joe. My friend Daniel has been saying for a year I should be watching it, but they started the documentary with this story, and I wanted to start with this. Many years ago, there was a temple in Thailand that was called the Temple of the Golden Buddha, and there was a huge statue of the Golden Buddha. And word came to this village where the monastery was that an army from a neighboring country was about to invade. And they got the brilliant scheme to cover the Buddha with mud and concrete so that it looked like basically a stone Buddha, so the army would perceive it with no value. Sure enough, this army rolls in with their caissons and weapons, and as they passed along the monastery, they saw nothing but a big stone Buddha, and they had no reason to plunder it. Well, years went by because the army continued to occupy until there was a time when the monastery and the village didn't even remember that the Buddha was originally gold. Until one day a young monk was meditating at the foot of the Buddha, and when the monk stood up, he saw a piece of concrete fall off, and he saw something shiny. He realized there was gold under there, and he ran to his fellow monks and said to the Buddha, there's gold on this Buddha. There's gold on the Buddha. They realized that he was telling the truth because they remembered that the ancestors were talking about that. And so they took their picks and hammers and started cracking away at the cement. And eventually they unearthed the golden Buddha. The metaphor here is that each of us is gold by nature. We were born high. We were born knowing. We were born connected to our bliss. We were born knowing everything that every master ever said we are. We are one with the Christ, the Buddha, everyone. But then we went to school and they said, you have to dress like this. Boys do this, girls do that, black people do this, white people do that. They didn't even mention gay people and what they did, and we didn't talk about any of the things that are being uprooted and all these things where we can identify as perfectly whole beings just the way we are. So we started to get talked out of our golden Buddha nature. Right? So we usually developed these casings of stone over the Buddha within ourselves around the point of the age of like 4, 5, 7. 9, probably too. Like those are the ages that we started to build the stone around that golden Buddha. We then believed we were the stone Buddha instead of the golden one. Then something comes along that cracks our casing. It may be an injury, a divorce, a financial setback, a death in the family. Something that scares us so bad or worries us, breaks our heart, and knocks the pieces of armor off of us. And all of a sudden, we start to recognize that there's gold within us, because that gold within us is God. Unfortunately, it takes when this armor starts to break away in those shallow, scary moments of our life that we actually feel God the most. Because we become vulnerable enough to listen, to feel our true feelings about whatever matter is up. Right? So we keep picking at the stone the rest of our lives, really revealing more and more of the God within ourselves. And at that point, we realize that that is what the hero's journey is about. The hero's journey is a pattern. It's kind of, I've talked about the generation, the regeneration, the degeneration and the regeneration, which is it's really the Holy Trinity as far as unity's principles teaches, which is generation is we know we're God. Degeneration is the fall and the cracks that makes us feel less than, and the regeneration is the birth of this Christ light that was already in us, but now we've innately owned it. The hero's journey it's a separation. You are in one reality. You are in one kind of a place, like we are right now, and you are separated from it. So something happens. So we're in it. We're in COVID, right? We can recognize what COVID is now, or whatever's going on in our life. Then the initiation, which would be the degeneration as far as the Holy Trinity and unity, you are put in another place where you have to face certain tests and challenges. And this is the initiation where you remember who you truly always were, right? And then the return is the return with a new, fresh perspective. It's a return of you from a state of wholeness. Okay? So the day before we left for Mexico, we had our Easter production here, which I hope many of you were there and enjoyed it. We enjoyed putting it together, and it was a lot of work, day and night, you know. Our children are here late at night with us, and it's every day, and it's band practices, and it's all of it. And it was the first time I was really in the lead role of it, because when Chad was here, he was in the lead role of it. Before, that's always been Jack, but this time it was mine. And it was fun. It was really fun to be in the creative aspect of picking and choosing music and all that. And of course, I had the input and the help of my parents as well. But it was a lot, and it was a lot of pressure on myself to now step into my wholeness in this creative aspect in the work here. And then we did the productions, and my son, who's 15, had his first debut performing with his guitar that day. So that was an amazing moment for a mom. You know, you just don't get out of it in the Groverland family. You are eventually going to get on this platform. And luckily, he came running out on it. He was ready. He's been waiting for a few years. I didn't realize how much he was ready. And now my 13-year-old daughter is starting to look like, all right, I think I'm getting ready. So the Easter thing was such a high and such a wonderful experience. And then we needed to go and get packed up and get ready to leave the next morning at like 4 in the morning to Mexico. But I have 3 dogs, and I have a dog that is ailing in health and has been for a few months. You probably all can't believe she's still alive, but she is, because there's so much love in our house. And the vets had said she'd be gone 2 months ago, but she just keeps rallying. So I was leaving her, so that was kind of a hard thing to do, because you really have this deep connection with a dog you're really nursing and taking care of all the time. 2 other dogs, and then my 2 children needed to go to their father. So first I dropped the ailing dog to my parents. Then I had to drop my kids off to their father, and then I had to open my house up to somebody who's taking care of my home and my dogs. And I felt like I was taking everything that I loved and spreading it all over Boulder. And I felt so empty. I can't even explain it. It was just like so empty that I didn't want to go. I didn't realize how much this this pandemic's also been a blessing because I've been with them so much, homeschooling them, having them in my office every day. I've become attached to always being with this nest of beauty. And here I was in such a hurry to take a break from it, and now I had my chance, and all it did was breaking my heart in a million pieces, and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And so I was kind of in a state of crisis. I was perfectly willing to throw away the money that we spent on the trip just to not go because this ache was too painful. And I found this wonderful symbol. When we are in crisis, in Chinese, it means it's danger and an opportunity. I was facing the danger aspect of it. Something could happen to them. Nobody's going to look after my kids the way that I look after them. My parents could lose the dog, and I'd feel horrible that would happen on their watch. All of those things, the guilt, the shame, momness. We have moms here. You know what I'm talking about, right? You felt this feeling. Super debilitating, actually, when you're in it. And Mike kept saying, wait till you get on the plane. You will be able to let it all go. When I got on the plane, it didn't go. It didn't go. He was not right. I was in a place that I haven't visited much in my life. I was hollow. I was free-falling. I have very few words for what I was feeling. And I've been sharing with you in this last year the losses I've had, and I've been living in a state of a midlife perspective. Some people would call it a midlife crisis. I like it as a midlife perspective, okay? There's wonderful joys on looking back on your life. I'm at that age where you look back and you ponder all that you've been through. I've pondered that first cut where the stone came off my body and gold was shown to me. And ultimately, that really happened to me at 29 years old when my son died. And I lost a baby and had to experience the feeling of having to trust that this universe had a baby that I could not nurture and love. I had to feel that feeling, and I had to find God so innately and deeply in my life to know that he was held by this greater power, this greater love that I knew and believed in and experienced, but never quite like the cut of that loss, giving me this direct connection with this unseen realm. I walked for a year in a holy state that has never left my life since then. And so that cement fell off my body, and it kept falling off all that year. As I found that I knew exactly my purpose was to now enter ministerial school, and all of my entire career unfolded from that experience. And I always say that son of mine, Luca, gave me more in his death than he could have ever given me in his life, because he gave me life. I walked around with masks on that said I was happy all the time when I wasn't. I walked around with false ideas about life and my relationship with God that was separate from myself and didn't realize the indwelling spirit that lived in me. I was given my soul at the forefront where it was only visited in dreams at times. And I now had an unfoldment of a life that this boy gave me in that cracked moment. I felt kind of like that feeling in the airplane, a feeling of sense of absolute worry for my children and for my dogs and for myself. I didn't want to get stuck in another country. This COVID thing is super creepy, and I was thinking, am I just stupid and radical, and what was I thinking? Going to do something like this, and then I could get stuck there for 10 days if I got COVID, and then I'd be there in their hospitals. I mean, it was just, what was I thinking? And so we get there, and there's the salty air. And we're driving along, and we're seeing the ocean, and it's the prettiest ocean I've ever seen, or if maybe my perspective is different now from a year of isolation and in a house too much. It was bluer than I'd ever seen it before, and we're driving along, but I still have this panicky feeling. In the book, The Undefended Self, she says, "There's a great pull in the manifest universe in which you live. This pull must exist in every human individual. This pole is directed toward union, toward unifying, bringing together individual fragments of consciousness. This pole manifests as a tremendous force, moving everyone toward inner union and union with others, making separateness painful and empty. Life, pleasure, oneness with self and others are the goals of the plan of evolution. This pole manifests as a tremendous force moving everyone toward inner union and union with others, making separateness painful and empty. Life, pleasure, oneness with self and others are the goals of the plan of evolution. So we got to the beach one day, and we happened to be in a resort. Seems like every time we've been to Mexico, which is a couple times, we've been in resorts, and it's been all Canadians staying in the resorts in Mexico. And this resort was filled with Hispanic families, which was awesome and wonderful, because they have so many beautiful little kids to remind you that you left your kids abandoned back at home while you're there. Like, look at how loving, and they're all playing in the ocean with their children. It's just children and children and babies and children and children. It was like, you know, and I just loved watching the love of family. I just did really appreciate seeing the organicness of their families, honestly. They take a lot of pictures of themselves, and they take a lot of family photos, so I just feel like I saw every aspect of parenting and the way they were taking pictures on the beaches, and I think they must be really big in social media, because there's lots of selfies with moms and daughters, moms and sons, moms and babies. But there was one photo shoot that had a deep impact on me, and it was a mom with a daughter that came out with a quinceañera dress on that was to die for. It was so beautiful, so made for this young girl that was turning 15. And the photo shoot was the mom who so downplayed her beauty. The mother was so drop-dead gorgeous, and she downplayed her beauty with this outfit that was so unattractive to make this little girl shine on that beach. And to watch the whole thing, I just was mesmerized by it. Because my daughter's 13 and a half right now, and our relationship has been a little bit teenage-like, teenage and mom-like, I guess they'd say. And I felt a deep loss for the organic family that I have always wanted for my younger ones. I felt the loss of the upbringing that I got to have, and I haven't been able to give to my children. And God was just, it was like a theatrical experience on that beach. The universe, it was like so divinely directed to watch my life play out through family and all the things that have had cuts and bruises and limitations and separateness. And it brought me to my knees of humble awe. The universe is so honorable when you need to face some of your stuff that has to be healed. So at one point, I just decided to get into this ocean, and the ocean was the most turbulent I've ever seen in Mexico. It's actually the most turbulent ocean I've ever been to. It was the biggest waves I've ever seen, but I was feeling overwhelmed enough to face it. And I went and I kind of carefully stepped into that ocean. And the first wave just knocked me off my feet, and it just tumbled me, until it finally spit me out so I didn't die. You know, we're from Colorado. You're not the best ocean swimmers in the world, you know. I'm like crawling out. My hair is just like covered in sand. I mean, I'm covered in sand, and I'm just crawling to my life. And I stand up, and I see that there's this whole group of women, that beautiful Hispanic women that are having a bachelorette party. They're drunk out of their minds, and they're all laughing at me. And I'm like, perfect. I'm already feeling really young and really hot on this beach, but I'm glad that I just made your day. So I just stood up and I was like, you're welcome. And joy entered my body a little bit, because there was no maliciousness in their laughter, actually. It was wonderful. It was playfulness. They were having a blast. They were in Mexico. They were enjoying a bachelorette party, and I was forgetting that I'm missing out on what this is supposed to be. This is supposed to be fun. That's right. It's supposed to be fun. So I went back to my chair, and I ordered a drink, actually, and picked up my book that was sitting there, Spiritual Liberation. And I opened to this random page, and this is what I read when I sat down. Your confidence to become a spiritual warrior increases as you do something as simple as leaving your safe space, meet new people, learn a new skill, or open your life to new possibilities. By taking advantage of even small opportunities to explore an unexpressed dimension of your being, you will increase your courage and discipline to be an explorer of the expansive territory within yourself. If you look at every heroic journey, the hero has been confronted with the fact that the world that they thought was reality was nothing more than an illusion. And that is why we have this longing to do better in circumstances that have become stagnant, which my life has had. Those areas where I'm just accepting things that are unacceptable about my children's childhood. That means I have to have hard conversations. I have to face things. I have to be brave. We have to identify the illusion of it and discover our innate potential, our innate power that is endless in any seeming circumstance that seems impossible, and prove that everything is possible if we will change our mind. First recognize it, but then change our mind, and then we have to overcome it. The call to adventure signifies that destiny has summoned the hero. I had been called for an adventure, but it was just a different adventure than I thought I was going for. I will continue this sermon next week. There's a lot left, but we have a special guest today who is going to be doing a book signing after the service. Holly Morphew is a very good friend of mine, and she's been attending this church for a while. She has headed our Uniteens group. She has helped in our Sunday school. She's helped in so many ways. But Holly Morphew is a visionary financial coach and multi-generational entrepreneur. She's the founder and CEO of Financial Impact, which helps professionals and entrepreneurs create personal wealth and financial independence. Her book, Simple Wealth, debuted in February and is a #1 bestseller in 9 out of 10 personal finance categories, including money management, retirement, budgeting, women in business, real estate, personal transformation, credit repair, and wealth management. As a pioneer in the personal finance industry, Holly's work has been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, Femme Founder, and more. In 2008, Holly received the prestigious Rotarian of the Year award for her work in financial literacy, and in 2017, she was recognized by the Association for Financial Planning and Counseling Education with the Bridging the Gap Award for outstanding work. I mean, she's really just been lazy her whole life. Outstanding work as an accredited financial counselor in private practice. Let's have a warm welcome for this brainiac, Holly Morphew.
Thank you to Syntysche and Unity for inviting me to speak today about my path to prosperity and my new book, Simple Wealth. Unity has played a big role in my abundance. As a matter of fact, I took Syntysche's prosperity course in 2018, a course in miracles in 2019, and then I took Shad's abundance class in 2020. So this is really special. I first came to Unity at a unique time in my life. I was looking for inspiration. I was recently divorced, redefining and redesigning my career, and not sure of my place in the world. But I did know one crucial thing about myself, and that was that when I prioritized my relationship with myself, or spirit, or God, or universe, source, intuition, inner guide, whatever your word is, life became more vibrant and everything was better. So I came to Unity, and I pretty much cried in the back every Sunday for about a year, listening to Syntysche speak about all of the things that were on my heart and in my mind, and I felt so validated in my feelings and my deep desire to play a role in healing the world and myself. A traumatic event had cracked me open just enough to ask myself questions that I wasn't willing to ask before. I think that the experience made me realize that life is short and I wanted to thrive. Was I happy in my marriage? Was I on the right path, career-wise? And was I capable of taking the steps that I needed to take in order to thrive? I was terrified of the answers, and answering these questions meant a complete transformation. I think I knew that. But I was willing to take the first step, and that first step was being honest with myself. I wanted a career that I loved so much that I would do it even if I didn't get paid. I wanted to have deep and meaningful relationships with my friends and family and people I care about. I wanted to travel. I wanted to learn and be challenged, and I wanted to be able to spend as much time as I could outdoors. To me, that was prosperity, or living in abundance. Today, I know that I was seeking wealth in its truest, purest form. You see, a modern definition of wealth is a combination of positive cash flow and positive net worth, which are both important in order to become financially independent, which is the point when work becomes a choice. However, the original meaning of the word wealth comes from the English root welle, which means happiness, well-being, and a state of good fortune. So it's the convergence of these three things that creates wealth in its true form. So what I wanted to learn was, how do I bridge the gap from where I was to where I wanted to go? And I was scared, I was unsure, and I didn't know how to do it. And what I have learned, the answer to that question, how to bridge the gap, is practice. This is how you begin to create wealth. Wealth is a spectrum. No matter where you fall on it, in the deepest hole of debt, like I was in, wanting a great place to live, going through divorce, or taking a 6-figure income to 7 figures, or just creating any income at all. It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you start, because money is infinite, and abundance is our natural state. My journey to financial independence began many years ago in the mid-2000s during a blizzard. If you've been in Boulder for that long, you might recall the winter of 2006 when we had 3 back-to-back blizzard snowstorms in Colorado, and it shut everything down from Fort Collins to Colorado Springs. And at the time, my office was 40 miles from my house, and I was driving a front-wheel drive Honda Accord. So I called my boss, and I told her I felt like it was a risk to get on the highway and come into work, and she told me if I didn't come into work, I was fired. I was working 60-hour weeks, and I was a high earner. Many people would say that I was successful. I had a house, a car, and all the things that society tells us to measure success, things that we need to acquire in order to measure that we're successful. But as I took stock of what would happen if I didn't go to work, I realized that I was living in an actual, metaphorical house of cards. If I didn't go to work, I wouldn't get my paycheck, and I wouldn't be able to pay my mortgage, my car payment, or my credit cards. The life that I had created for myself would come tumbling down. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was stressed, and I wasn't happy. And for me, success meant having more freedom and choices in life, and I was definitely not living in alignment with that vision. And I think I was starting to realize that I had let the world's version of success trump my inner voice. So as I white-knuckled my steering wheel in the whiteout conditions on my way to work that morning, I thought about all of these things, and After the day passed and I got home, I got out all of my credit card statements and I added up my balances. I had been doing mental accounting, where I had an idea of what was going into my accounts and an idea of what was leaving my accounts, but I hadn't actually written it down. And when I totaled up my balances, I had $67,000 of credit card debt. And I couldn't believe it, because I come from a family of entrepreneurs and real estate investors, and we talked about money at the dinner table growing up. I was comfortable with the topic. And I was already working as hard as I could to make as much money as I could. So the next day I called my financial advisor and I asked him for help. And he asked me how much more money I wanted to invest each month. But I didn't have any money to invest. That was the problem. And I think that it was in that moment when things really began to shift for me, because I realized that a financial advisor helps you invest money that you already have. But who helps you create more money to invest? There was a huge gap there, and that's what my role today as a financial coach fills. But at the time, there was no such thing. And after that call, I committed to learning everything I could about money, debt elimination, investing, building wealth, and financial independence. And using what I learned, I created a system. And 3 years later, I was totally debt-free. Shortly after that, I had money in the bank. And then in my 30s, I became financially independent. See, building wealth is 20% strategy and 80% psychology. I was able to eliminate my debt and grow my money using this system. But it wasn't until I tuned my mindset to one of prosperity that financial independence came knocking on my door. Simple Wealth debuted a #1 bestseller in 9 out of the 10 categories because it doesn't just contain the system, which is really simple. And it's, by the way, only 3 steps. But Simple Wealth also contains the practices and the habits that will transform you into a wealthy person. These are what connect your desire to experience prosperity with your daily behaviors. And I think that this is the reason that the book has been such a success. What you think about, you bring about. So the book is meant to help you shift your thoughts to bring you closer to becoming the person you want to be, who has the life that you want to live. Today, I'm living the life that I was dreaming of when I first stepped foot in this sanctuary. I've literally become what I envisioned. I'm a coach, a writer, an author, and a speaker, and I work in a career that I would do even if I didn't get paid. Add my health and my happiness to that, and I have the wealth trifecta. And I'm only getting started because I envision a world where everyone is wealthy. And when each one of us does our own healing work or embarks on our own wealth journey, we are contributing to a better world. We're ascending Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which enables us to make an even bigger impact. A rising tide lifts all ships. I wrote this book because you deserve to live your best life, and because building wealth is really, really simple. Historically, we haven't taught personal finance in school, nor have we educated our workers and employees how to build wealth with their paycheck. A confused mind says no. So if you are overwhelmed or ashamed of your money situation, I want you to know that you're not alone, and you can take a step toward wealth today. Everything that you need to know to get right with your money is in this book, and I want to go ahead and share the first step with you right now. The first step to creating wealth is awareness. It's something that we do every Sunday here in the 9 a.m. service. We quiet our mind and we drop into our heart in meditation. Sitting in stillness is one of the personal practices in the book, and This is a time when you can hear your truth, your truth. By listening to what your innate wisdom has to tell you, you become aware of what is the right next step for you to create well-being, happiness, and good fortune. I started teaching personal finance in 2006. Once I discovered the formula, I wanted to share it, so I proposed to my Rotary Club a service project where I would go to local high schools and teach young adults about money before they got started in the real world and made all of the money mistakes that I made and I saw my friends making because they hadn't received financial education. The workshop became a massive success, and pretty soon I had teachers and parents of my students asking if they could sit in on this little workshop, and that's when I realized, oh, okay, everyone is thirsty for financial education, not just kids. So in 2012, I started a financial coaching practice, and I worked it alongside my full-time jobs and my other businesses, and then in 2016, I created Financial Impact, and that's when I began coaching full-time. It took me 3 years to become profitable and sustainable, and I believe that you can do anything in 3 years. At the same time that I was rebuilding my life, I was also being intentional and consistent with the personal practices of meditation, visualization, giving, gratitude, affirmations, being in community, and acknowledging myself. Today, I can see that it was these practices that catapulted me to wealth in its complete meaning. By being honest with myself and facing my credit card debt, and by asking those tough questions, I gave myself the chance to hear what my inner wisdom had to tell me. Your awareness opens the door to your truth and all of the gifts that are in store for you, waiting for you to claim. There is no such thing as perfection when it comes to money, only doing your best. And every day you are either building wealth or you're not. It doesn't matter how much money you make. What matters is how much money you keep and what you do with it. You start where you are, and wherever you are is perfectly okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, with that said, so I will have a continuation and the completion of my sermon next Sunday. And she'll be selling books and having a book signing in the fellowship hall right after the service today, so definitely go take your chance with that with Holly. And then we will take an offering for Unity now, and I'll invite Jack up. Thank you, Holly, that was amazing.
All right. Well, we had a double header today. Beautiful insights that we received and opportunities to expand our awareness and our lifestyles. So it's been a very positive, beautiful experience, which is what we are aiming for all the time in Unity. So as we create a more positive outlook, as Holly was saying, you know, the opportunities show up and we can expand our lifestyles and our living. With that in mind, we have been very blessed, and we have an opportunity to give back to Unity of Boulder. So we're going to take an offering in relationship. I'm going to take this mask off. Take an offering in relationship to the COVID-19 restrictions. So we just simply bring to mind that financial gift we'd like to make to Unity of Boulder in order to continue this ministry. And to all of you that are watching on a screen, you have these different opportunities, different ways that you can make a financial donation to Unity of Boulder. So we bring that financial gift to mind, and we bless it with this affirmative prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. Amen. Incredible singers.
Again. So this was a fun day of music for me because I know all these songs really well. At least I thought I did. This last one, when I was listening to it, I thought it was fun because as a mom, they talk about God through the eyes of a child. But I forgot in the chorus what they say about God. It was a little atypical, but made me love the song even more. It's called Chasing Blue Cars by Dishwalla.
Must have been mid-afternoon. I could tell by how far the child's shadow stretched out, and he walked with the purpose in his sneakers down the street. He asked many questions like children often do. Tell me all your thoughts on God, 'cause I'd really like to meet her, ask her what and who we are.
Must have been late afternoon. On our way, the sun broke free of the clouds. We count only blue cars, skip the cracks in the street, ask many questions like children often do. We said,
Tell me all your thoughts on God, 'cause I'd really like to meet her, ask her what and who we are.
tell me all your thoughts on God.
'Cause I'm on my way to see her. Tell me, am I very far? Am I very far now? It's getting cold. Picked up the pace. How our shoes make hard noises in this place. Our clothes are stained. We pass many cross-eyed people and ask many questions like children often do. Tell me all your thoughts on God, 'cause I'd really like to meet her, ask her what and who we are.
Tell me all your
Thoughts on God, 'cause I'm on my way to see her.
give it up for Jason here. Nice to have you on the stage again. See you next week.
You guys are rocking it today. Nice, really great. Thank you so much.
Really great.
All right, well, if you have any challenges you're facing today and you'd like to pray with somebody, we have our prayer partners that are wearing their white stoles. If you guys want to stand up so they can see you. And you can just stay seated in your seat and they'll come and find you and take you to our beautiful meditation room and pray with you. And I think beyond that, we have fellowship after, and we also have the book signing in the fellowship hall right after the service. And Jack will be in there to gather with you. I have to work on some music, so I can't go in today. But let's all rise and we'll close with a closing song. I release
And I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm going here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm going here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm going here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm going here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes,